Alright, so these rotors came with the races already pressed into it, so that's good. Make that part easy. We're gonna have to put the bearing in there and then the seal in it. Before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and tape off the surface and spray some caliper paint in here, because and around here too, because if we don't, it's just gonna rust up in no time. Alright, I still pack bearings the old-fashioned way, using my hands, and it gets pretty messy. I know they make tools for this, but yeah, I don't have one. So I just put like a big old gob of grease right there on my palm. Oh, it came with a race. And then I just take the bearing and squish it over the grease like this until you start seeing it come through. See, it's starting to come up through there, and then start rotating it. Alright, pressing in the seal. So I bought this at like Home Depot or something a long time ago. It's a pipe, or a coupler I guess, for 2-inch pipe. It says 2 inches right there, but I'm sure that's the size of the pipe that this couples. This is more like, you know, 2 3/8 or so. But if you need to press something like this in, it's a good idea just to take this with you to Home Depot and then just match it up, you know, to something that fits. I'm going to put this flat piece over it and then start tapping it down. Try to get it to go down evenly. So there's probably instructions on how to do this, and my suggestion to you is you follow them. This is just how I've always done it. I always basically just bring it till it's all the way tight, and then back it off a little bit. How much? I don't know what to tell you as far as how much. You saw about how much that was. It's just a little bit. It's always worked out well for me, so that's just what I do. These guys are all keyed differently, so if your cotter pin hole doesn't line up, you just keep turning until it does, and it will, and bam, put your cotter pin in there. Okay, so I want to tell this story real quick. This is a true story. A buddy of mine and I went in halves on an old Valiant. I can't remember if the car was disc brakes or drum brakes, but my buddy was driving it and brakes went out or something, bearing seized or something happened. So we bought a new hub, whether it was a drum or rotor, I can't remember. And obviously, you could see here, I mean, these rotors came with races, so I don't need to use these ones that came with the bearing, but the race goes in with the taper, or these races are tapered, so the larger inner diameter is on the top, smaller inner diameter is on the bottom, and it goes in like this. So the smaller diameters go towards the center of the hub. Well, if you ever have to knock these out, you can kind of get in, the smaller one's easier because you can get in this way, but there's a little edge there you can grab and knock these out. Well, my buddy puts these in, he wasn't paying attention, and he put it in backwards. So it was in this way. So when you flip the rotor over and you try to knock these out, there's no edge to grab because this diameter is just as small as the ledge it's sitting against. So it's in there like this. So it was like, shit, what do we do now? So we were kind of in a screwed situation. So anyway, in that car, the bumper jack was still in it. I took the bumper jack and I think we had to maybe knock out the outer race, but it was just small enough to fit through the small side and sit against the race like this, wedging itself. So it was small enough to go through this larger diameter, but not too small that it would go through the hole. It was just perfect. I don't know if it would work every time. I don't know if every bumper jack is the exact same size or not, but in our case, it worked. So we flipped the rotor over like that, or drum, whatever it was, put the bumper jack through there with no base, and then started jacking with the car, because we tried beating on it with a hammer and nothing. Started jacking using the weight of the car to push on it, and the car was, of course, lifting up. Thought, shit, man, we're never gonna get it out. And then, bam, the weight of the car knocked it out. So we were able to get the race out, which was good. And I thought for sure, well, shit, we're screwed. We still got to get another set of bearings because the race is, no doubt, it's going to be damaged, right? We pulled it out, and I shit you not, man, there was no marks on the race. The material was so hardened that it didn't phase it. It didn't hurt it at all. So we reused it. We put it in correctly, facing the right direction, and put it back together, and it drove like a champ, man. No problems. So there you go. You never know. Sometimes you got to get like MacGyver and just you work the hand you got, you know. All right, let's put this thing together. Never fails. Car shit going sideways. So I'm trying to put the bearing on. I had the rotor on here already. Trying to put the smaller outer bearing on, and it won't go on all the way. It's like hitting, and it's not even reaching the race. So it has to be with this. So I pulled the rotor off, tried to put it on, and it's hitting. I can feel it hitting something. So looking at it, I can feel right there don't know if you can see, but right at the end of the thread, like the end of the tooth from a die that's cutting the thread, there's a little tiny burr right there, and that's preventing the ID of the bearing from going over it. So I'm gonna go take a file to that and get rid of that burr. Alright, it's going on all the way now. It was stopping like right there. Now it's going on all the way. Good. Alright, calipers. So you got these two very different looking calipers. As far as their direction, you can see the arch right here. That kind of is a clearance for this part of the rotor. So we know that they have to go in that way. Now the question is it like this or like this? All I can tell you is that the smaller one goes in the back. That's the side the piston's going to be against. And then the bigger one is going to go here. I think we need to put it on this like that before we put it on. Then we slide the whole caliper over and it just clunks right in there just perfectly. Alright, as far as which caliper goes on which side, you can see the Zerk fitting right here. So we know this is the passenger side because this should be at the very high point. If I were to put the driver's side on this side, then this would be on the low point. So that's how you know which side it goes to. Now, it's been a while, so I'm a little bit hazy or sketchy on this, but the only exception is, or I should say there is one exception. I actually took A-body disc brakes and put it on a B-body, my old blue Roadrunner, and I did it to my Cornet. So when you do that, these calipers are on the front on an A-body, not the back like this. But you need it to be on the back on a B-body so that it reaches the brake line. So you put the right side spindle, caliper, everything on the left side and the left side on the right side. But when you would do that, the Zerk fitting would end up on the bottom. Well, then you got a problem because you got air that gets trapped up in the caliper on this side, and there's no way to get it out because you crack this open, all the fluid's bleeding out, but there's no way to get that air out. So what I had to do was I took the whole caliper off and I laid it down, and then I bled it, just like pumped it through into a jar, so that way it was just like a constant feed. And then when it was full of fluid, I closed it and then put it back up on the car. Kind of a crappy way to bleed it, but that's what we did back then to do it on the cheap. So anyway, hope that helps. Maybe that just confused everybody. If it confused you, just forget about A-body disc brakes. Just buy a kit like this. You put it on, the Zerk fitting goes towards the top. That's all you need to know. Alright, so Scott Catron was watching the video on the spindle one, I guess, or one of them, and noticed that the boot wasn't up all the way on the passenger side. I already got that one on all the way, but I figured, you know, it's probably worth mentioning because, like right now, it's freaking hard. It doesn't want to go up. It doesn't want to go on the ball joint all the way. So I'm gonna put grease in here to help convince it to go on all the way. Okay. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take an extension. I've got a big what is this, 1/2-inch drive extension, and I'm going to use it to go around the edge of the boot. It's got like a metal ring embedded inside of it, and I'm going to tap it up to get the boot to seat all the way. So anyway, yeah, the passenger side's the side you noticed. I already did that side, but both sides actually need to be put on all the way. I would not use a screwdriver to do this because it could puncture the boot. All right. Oh, done. Let me move it around this way because it might be hard to see from that angle. I guess I should have shown this angle before, but you could see the big part of the ball joint, and this part of the boot was like way down here. So we just tapped it on, locked it on front and back. We're good to go. All right, this kit came with a bunch of duplicate stuff. So it looks like they just sourced their stuff from, you know, a bunch of different places and then put a kit together. So one of these is a 1/2-inch head, and another set is a 7/16. So I use the 1/2-inch unless there's some sort of clearance issue. And get all this. All right. So these guys go up here. So there's some threaded holes here on the caliper, and this goes on there like that. And that's what holds the caliper to the spindle, or I should say to the caliper bracket. Alright, that one's already up there. I'm just going to show you on this one because you won't be able to see it there. Basically, you see how there's grooves right in here on that, like a ring, and then there's grooves here and here. So what's going to happen is you need one of these copper washers against the bolt. Then it's going to go through like this, and then another copper washer on the bottom, and then that's what's going to attach here, like so. So we're going to do that on this one up here. Which you won't really be able to see. Actually, I'm going to turn the steering to the left. Alright, out of those two sets, one set was 11 millimeters and the other set was 12. So kind of sucks that it's not standard anymore. Everything's gone metric. You want to get this on there pretty tight. So those ribs that you saw need to be crushing into the copper, and then that's going to be your seal. Alright. Okay, I think it's on there. We'll find out when we go to bleed the brakes. And then this end of the hose is going to go up through here. I gotta get a clip for it. This thing on there. There's like this hole has cutouts for the hex that's on the brake line. Now to get the brake line on. For it to have spring tension on it, this lip needs to be pointing up. So it's gonna be like that. Just gonna make it really hard to get on. It wasn't that hard. I hyped it up too much. There, just